Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to a hopefully brief but hopefully quite interesting video about a watch from a brand that you may or may not have heard of. It's the 52 from the Newmark watch company from the UK. Now, even if you haven't heard of Newmark, I'm sure their story will ring a few bells. Newmark were an importer and then a manufacturer of watches in the UK from the mid-1800s right up until the quartz crisis. They eventually closed their doors in 1980, but were resurrected a couple of years ago by an enthusiast called Ewan. I must have looked at half a dozen watches from brands over the last couple of years, including Yema and Olech and Weiss, to name just a few, that died but have been resurrected thanks to a renewed interest in all things mechanical. I think it's great. It's great to see some old names coming back on the market and some old designs being resurrected to boot. Now, I have been following Newmark on Instagram for the last 18 months or so, and I like what they're doing. So much so that I sent Ewan a message and said, hey, any chance you can send me one of these watches in for review? And he did, and so this video is sponsored by Newmark. They sent me this watch for free. I do not have to send it back. You will also find in the description of the video a discount code JOMWA10 getting you 10% off the price of this watch. It's not an affiliate code, there's no commission for me, just a discount for you. That takes it down to £175, which is the thumbnail price. Now, I reckon this style of field watch makes a very, very strong case for itself as the perfect grab and go piece. So that's the kind of angle, those are the questions that I'm going to ask over the course of the review today. So what makes the perfect grab and go watch, and is this therefore the perfect grab and go watch? Let's flip the camera and find out. So while I am rabbiting my way through the next 10 minutes going through the usual dimensions and specifications, indoor, outdoor and wrist shots, Lume video, etc., why don't you have a think about what specifications, what characteristics you would expect, you would desire from the ultimate grab and go watch. I'll tell you what I would want and we'll see how close this Newmark gets. Clearly, we're going for a vintage look here. Very, very simple packaging. This almost looks like a piece of waxed paper. Very 1950s. And I guess there should be a clue in the model name, the 52. We're definitely that post-World War II, almost Dirty Dozen field watch aesthetic here. They do 3 different colour versions of this watch, the 52. There is, I suppose, a more authentic looking military style one, just black with white hands and indexes. There is a cream dial one. I opted for the big selling model, which is this gilt tone one. Perhaps not historically militarily accurate, but I am a sucker for this vintage look and I thought it suited the watch overall nicely. So what do you want from a grab and go watch then? Well, the whole point of a grab and go watch is one that you don't have to think about. You don't have to think about it when you grab it from your watch box, and you don't really have to think about it over the course of the day either, other than when you're looking down for a time check. So you want something that is kind of a little bit neutral, slightly inoffensive, but nicely legible and nicely accurate and well sized. So just over 40mm in diameter, but as you can see here, it's an asymmetric case. Very interesting case shape here, semi-integrating the crown. 46mm lug to lug, 10.5mm thick, 22mm lug width and 63 grams on the supplied NATO. Now that is light enough to forget that you're wearing a watch. You want something that is going to be robust and hard wearing, so you want an all stainless steel construction. You probably want sapphire crystal as well with a little bit of anti-reflecting undercoating. The Newmark has both of those features. You probably want a bit of water resistance just in case you do end up at the local beach or your swimming pool after a day's work. This one has 100 meters of water resistance from a push-pull crown. If your grab and go is this field style of watch, then you ideally want an all brushed, simple finish, something that can also take a knock or two without showing its scratches, and it's a very nice finish here. Circular brushing on the upper lugs and a horizontal brushing on the mid case. Nice Newmark branded crown, quite a large crown, nice and easy to grip when you need to as well. You want a strap that is as durable and as hard wearing and as rugged as the rest of the watch, and this supplied NATO certainly fits the bill. Matching brushed hardware, Newmark branded, and it looks like a quality item as well. Have a look at those holes there, nicely reinforced. No fraying around the edges here, and they're not taking the mickey with the prices. These are £10 each if you want to spec on a few in different colours also. And ideally from a grab and go piece, you want a handsome, legible three-hander with no date, because you don't want to grab, then have to set the date before you go. So this Newmark certainly fits the bill there. Like I said, very much that dirty dozen field watch mid-century aesthetic here. Arabic numerals, we've got a train track, minute track around the outer edge. Nice sword handset, all very well proportioned. And it's a relief dial, so this gilt model starts as a golden dial, then they print the black on top of that, then they print the Arabics on top of that. I'll throw in plenty of macro here, plenty of close-ups, all very, very nice, very crisply done here. Love those Arabics that they use in the minute track around the outer edges. I think the whole thing pulls off that vintage military look very nicely. Also a nice touch, the little L there. Newmark did used to supply the British military back in the 70s and 80s, and that little L is a British military marking denoting the type of loom used. Talking of loom, if you want a grab and go piece, you certainly want loom, and this Newmark does not disappoint. That is X1 grade C3 and a load of it, printed on the dial in the form of those Arabics and pumped into the hands as well. I have reviewed a number of these dirty dozen style mid-century field watches from Hamilton and CWC, and this Newmark has by far and away the best loom of the bunch. And you want your grab and go piece to be reliable and no nonsense, and that is a no nonsense caseback. Newmark logo and brand name etched into the middle, and the obligatory spec sheet telling you that it is stainless steel, 100 meters of water resistance confirmed, and sapphire crystal on the back, and that is an individual serial number there, which is a nice touch at this price. And I'd be keen for my grab and go watch to be comfortable, wearable, but still relatively discreet, which is why I think these military reissue field style watches fit the bill nicely. This is actually one of the larger ones at just about 40mm, nicely proportioned at 20mm. Personally, I wouldn't be going for the NATO, I'd be putting this one onto a bit of vintage style leather. Yeah, that is much more my style. I understand this type of watch really has to come with a NATO strap for that whole authentic military thing, but this piece of vintage Horween definitely much more my cup of tea. This is the strap that this one will be living on come the end of the review, I have no doubt. There is, however, one more essential feature of a grab and go watch that I have not mentioned as yet. I would say it was the defining characteristic of a grab and go watch, and that is that it's always at the right time. You grab and you go. You don't grab, wind, set and go, and that means it has to be quartz. And this watch is quartz. Ta-da! Did you guess? Did you notice? If you look at it now that I've mentioned it, you can perhaps tell that the second hand is not ticking quite as smoothly as it would do were it an automatic. It is ticking 4 times per second. Not as smooth as an auto, but certainly a lot smoother. It has that mechanical look, far more so than you get from the 1 tick per second of a normal quartz movement. This is a Seiko VH31, and I am still stunned that more manufacturers do not use these. They just make so much sense. 2-year battery life, accuracy of plus to minus 15 seconds per month, a little bit of anti-magnetic capability as well thrown into the mix. It just makes so much sense, and to be honest, you would be hard pushed to notice the difference in everyday use. So what do you think then? Sapphire crystal with anti-reflective, a robust and hard-wearing stainless steel case, 100 meters of water resistance, some fantastic loom, comfortable and durable NATO strap, handsome looking legible watch, and it's always going to be at the right time. No date complication to set either. As I said, I do think this one makes a strong case for itself as a grab and go piece if you like this vintage military look. Is it perfect though? No, of course it's not perfect. There will be moans, there will be niggles. The NATO strap, like I said, as much as I understand that it has to be supplied in a NATO, I don't really like them, so I would be changing this one forthwith. Chances are though you've probably got a couple of decent 20mm options in your watch box already at home. And it's a bit thick. 10.5mm isn't a huge dimension, but as you can see there, the case back does protrude, and I'm not quite sure why it protrudes, because it's a slim quartz module that they use as discussed. I guess it does add to the overall chunkiness, but I would love that to be a little bit slimmer again. And not for the first time, there is a big difference between some anti-reflective undercoating and enough anti-reflective undercoating. If I take this watch outside, you can see quite a bit of flecto coming off that sapphire. It doesn't specify how many layers, but you can never have too many layers of anti-reflective as far as I'm concerned. Unfortunately, under macro, the hour hand and the minute hand look a little bit scruffy. They could have done with a bit more sharpening, a bit more polishing here, I'm afraid. And then there's the price. £195 less 10% is £175, including shipping anywhere in the world. That's about $230 at the current exchange rate. I don't think that's a bad price. Like I said, it's nicely done, it's crisply printed, I like the relief dial, and it's got a decent set of specs for the money, but it's not a no-brainer at that price. You still have to think, are you going to wear it? Is it going to fit into your collection? Are there any better alternatives for that price? If it was £20 cheaper, it would be an absolute no-brainer, but at 175 quid, I think you have to think about whether you're going to get the value from it in your collection long term before you pull the trigger. But overall, I like it, I like the looks, it's well made, and I enjoy what Ewan is doing with the Newmark brand once more. They do a chronograph version in this case, and that one is a reissue of a watch that Newmark supplied to the RAF in the late 1970s, early 1980s. It's out of stock at the moment. Perhaps I'll try and get my hands on that one to review at some point later on in 2021. So there you have it, the Newmark 52 then. Perhaps not perfect, but then again, the day that I herald a watch as being perfect is probably the last day of this channel, and nobody wants that. I think they have made a lot of nice design choices and a lot of good choices in terms of the specifications that this watch offers, all for a reasonable price tag. And I do think it makes a strong case for itself as a grab and go piece, the one that sits in the corner of your watch box for those days when you're too hungover or too tired or too lazy or too out of time and you just want to slap something on your wrist and run straight out of the door. Did you identify the movement as being quartz before I told you? I do really like these little mecha quartz movements. I don't know why more companies don't use them. They make a lot of sense, and I personally am sick of looking into a watch box full of dead autos. So this one will definitely be hanging around. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon.